Hello people of the internet and welcome to a very spontaneous video, which is definitely nowhere near Friday, but I had important deadlines, so yeah, I'm Jontje, I'm autistic, which is probably relevant for this video. And well, what inspired this video and the videos that will follow it is that I basically can't say no to a challenge. Like, seriously, the only reason my hair is this long is because someone challenged me that I wouldn't be able to have hair as long as they did. And then I cut it off again. It's kind of a long story, but I used to look very different for most of my life. But that's not what this challenge is about. This challenge is about reading. Because there is this thing on the internet, I guess, which is called the reading rush, which takes place on July 20th, which is probably going to be when I release this video, except if you live in the United States, I think, and you know, the general American continent and so on, because depending on how long I take to edit this, I don't, time's out. And the objective of the reading rush, as the name might already imply, is basically to just read as much as you can. And it was started, I believe, by a couple of other YouTube people who mostly talk about books, which I don't. And they challenge people not just to read a lot of books, but also put specific challenges on how to pick the books that you're going to read. And also additional challenges for Instagram and YouTube and, you know, all that social media stuff. Part of which include actually making a vlog while, you know, doing the actual reading during the month, which I will also be doing. But probably only as one video, I'll see. But I don't feel like editing a video every day again for a while. But on top of that, of course, because that's not enough challenge, obviously, I challenged myself to also make all those books that I'm going to read somehow related to autism, because that is obviously what I talk about here. So let's get to the actual reading rush challenges so that I can tell you about the books that I'm going to read, which will all somehow be related to autism. Yeah. So the first challenge is to read a book in the color of your birthstone, which is a very interesting thing, I guess. So basically for me that means I need to read a purple book, which turned out to be very, very difficult. And this is sort of the first point where we'll get to a bit of confusion, because not all of the challenges are manageable, because there sadly aren't that many books, you know, at least fiction books that somehow revolve around autism and that, you know, you actually want to read. So anyway, this was a slight problem, and I have kind of two solutions to that. One is this book, which I happen to have and own, and it's a very red purple, but I'm defining it as purple for the purposes of this. And to be honest, I picked this because it was on some sort of, I think, recommendations list, and then I stopped reading my way through that list, so it kind of just got forgotten, and I have absolutely no idea what this is about. But oh, I guess I should, I don't know if anyone watches this who can't see the screen, or if you didn't manage to read that. The book is called Unbroken, and it's by Alexis Quinn. And I think it's some sort of biographical something or other, but I don't really know. I will tell you once I know in the following video. So if you would like to see that and know what this and other books are actually about, and possibly also hear my opinion about this, please do subscribe if you haven't already, so that you will probably next Friday be able to know more about this. But as I said, that's not really purple, and so I also have another sort of semi-solution to this, which is a book that I do not currently own, and if I will be owning it in the, I guess, in the coming week at some point, it will be in ebook version, so I will show you a cover of it, I guess. And that book is A Wizard Alone by Diane. I'm not very good at pronouncing names. Which I feel like is a thing that everyone says. And the reason I wanted to read this book was because when it was originally released, which was somewhere in the early 2000s, I think, it got quite a lot of criticism for having, well, it has an autistic character, and apparently, spoilers, I guess, although kind of not, there was a sort of cure storyline and so on. And then, because a lot of autistic people weren't really happy with the way the book ended, it actually got revised, and the author made a new ending which addressed that criticism, which I think is really, really cool, and that's like really, really awesome of the author. So that's kind of why I wanted to read that. Why this isn't entirely true is because the cover of the original book is indeed purple, but the cover of the new sort of revised version, which is called the new Millenium version, I think, is not purple. And of course I would be reading that, so it's sort of... Anyway, the thing is, which makes me a lot less sure if I'm actually going to read it or not, that this new revised edition is actually incredibly difficult to find, because the paperback version, the, normal ebook version that you can get at, most places where you would get ebooks, and the audiobook version are all the old version. And there's only one specific website, which is not easy to find, that actually sells the new version. Which I don't know if there's some sort of, administrative whatever issue that means that. But otherwise, if that isn't the case, then it's kind of like, it seems a bit redundant to have made that revised version at all, if the version that is, commonly available is actually the old version. It just kind of, I don't know. Anyway, let's actually go on to the next video, because there will be a lot more books. And so there's 7, I was going to say dares, but that's obviously not the case. 7 prompts, 7, what's the thing? 7 things to choose books by. And the second one is to take a book that starts with the, which is not quite as easy as you think. But the one I've chosen for that is The Deep by Silberman, which I currently also do not own. But so again, you'll see it on the screen, and I'll be owning the ebook version. But this sounds really, really interesting to me. Apparently it's about some mermaids, which are actually people, African people who were supposed to be sold as slaves, but then jumped overboard, and then apparently became mermaids in this version. Somehow this is related to autism. I don't quite know how, but the story yet, but the storyline seemed very, very interesting anyway. And I've seen I think the first book of the author recommended for autistic in sort of autistic spaces as well. I did not decide to read that because I think it's some sort of, I don't know, murder mystery or something, and I can't read those kind of things because of anxiety, which also made making this book list kind of, my anxiety makes this book list kind of hard sometimes. But anyway, that's this book for the. And then the third prompt is a book inspired by a movie you've seen. And obviously, that is quite difficult. Because, you know, if even... well, first of all, I don't watch a lot of movies. I don't know a lot of movies. Again, anxiety. I kind of just get panic attacks when I watch new movies. I don't really know why either. And then there isn't a lot of movies about autism or with autistic characters. And of course they, again, have to be based on books. And then those that might exist might not necessarily be the ones you would want to read. And well, basically, I decided to change this prompt because I didn't know anything. So I changed it into a book that I would like to be made into a movie, which gives me an excuse to reread an old book, because that's, I don't know, what I do a lot. Anyway, the book that I actually have it, and the book that I've chosen for this is this one, On the Edge of Gone by Corinne. I don't think she's English. Duyvis? No. Something like that. She lives in Amsterdam, so it's probably a Dutch name, which means I should be able to pronounce it better than I am, but I have absolutely no idea how this might be supposed to be pronounced. But I have already read this book. It's the one of two books on my list that I've actually read, and I really enjoyed it, but I can't really remember too much, and I'm actually supposed to be writing an essay about it currently, so that was a very good excuse to read it again. But the basic premise, it's kind of science fiction, but it is science fiction. And the basic premise is, well, that an asteroid, is about to and then does fall onto the Earth, I guess. And so then obviously there's a lot of chaos, and I think the author is autistic. I believe it might not be the case, but the autism is described very well in my opinion. And the main character is autistic. And so yeah, she has to, navigate this sort of very exceptional situation and so on. So yeah, I don't want to, I'll discuss the books in another video once I've already read them, and then I will be talking more about that. But I'm very excited to read that book again. And then the fourth, challenge, well, I'm just calling them challenges now, sorry, is read the first book you touch, which is a sort of very vague, and this is one of those prompts that autism doesn't make easy to interpret. But I basically used it as another excuse to read a book that I have to read anyway, which I interpreted it to read the first book about autism that I've ever read. Well, actually, technically that's not true, because the first book on autism I read was some sort of weird story that was apparently real about some parents who go to like the middle of nowhere Mongolia to try to cure their autistic son. So I'm not rereading that, and I have no idea what it was called, and I was, I think, 14 when I read it, so not happening. But then the first book that made me aware of autism, and that while I was reading was like, this is very interesting, I experienced this. And then after I've read it, I sort of thought, well, maybe I should look about this thing that is autism more. And I just chose the book because it was interesting and I didn't think anything by it, and it just sort of started a slow realization of, okay, that is why I am so weird. And well, this book is Neurotribes by Steve Silberman, and actually the reason I'm rereading this is because it's part of research for a video, which I will then hopefully at some point actually get to, because I've been meaning to make it since April. So yeah, that's the reason I'm rereading this. It's a very large book, although there's a lot of sources, which is, I guess, a good thing about these. That's the sources, but I mean, it doesn't change so much. It's still 480 pages. So I might not actually be reading this in its entirety. I'll start with the chapters that actually pertain to what I'm researching, and then I'll see if I can actually get through to the rest or not. Let's move on. The fifth challenge is read a book completely outside your house, which is obviously a little bit difficult right now, or in general. I mean, I will basically count anything that is not this room. Well, I'm kind of cheating, and I'm choosing this because it's the thinnest book that I have physically, so I can actually take it with me somewhere. And I'll probably not have another separate book for that, because some of the books that I have are, quite large books. And then 6 is to read in a genre that you want to read more of, which I've again chosen something slightly weird, because what I've chosen is actually a web series, which is something that I do want to read more of. And this is, I think it's called, well, I'm not entirely sure how it's pronounced, but it's called Iwunen Interstellar Investigations. I don't really know what it's about, but I believe there is, next to autism, also a lot of gender stuff involved, which I think is not only, there are some more books, I think, might be in my selections that include that, which I'm very excited for, obviously. And so obviously the awesome thing about this book is, well, it's free on the internet, so you can, all go read it for free as well, which is awesome. I'm just going to completely fail at pronouncing the author's name. I apologize for that, but they're Hungarian, so it's probably, it might be a Hungarian name, possibly. But they seem like a very interesting person, so I'm really looking forward to reading their book. No, wait, not there. Wait, they have different pronouns. Wait, what were their pronouns? Earbook. That was it. And number 7. The final challenge is to read a book on a different continent, which is probably, I probably already have some books in my list right now, but for that one I've chosen Failure to Communicate by Kaia something or other. Kaia Sønderby, sorry. Yeah, that's my book for that. And as far as I've read, that's also something I've been wanting to read for another time, but that is that takes place in space, so that's obviously not my continent. So I'm very interested in reading that as well. I don't know a lot others, except that I think that it's about an autistic person whose job is to communicate with other alien races, something like that. Again, you'll hear more about the books and what they're actually about in the following videos. But yeah, that's my basic sort of reading list, which I will be very excited about. Yeah, I don't know, is anyone else actually doing that and watching this this reading rush thing and wants to communicate their reading list as well? Or I don't know, does anyone have any other recommendations for books about autism, autistic books with autistic narrators, something like that? Is anyone an author? I don't know. But yeah, I would appreciate it if, if you've maybe had my weird and random descriptions of these books might have provided you with something that you want to read, or I don't know. If that was just entertaining, please do give this video a like. That's what I was trying to get at. And yes, I will hopefully see you all next week when I've hopefully read a lot more books. Goodbye.